Back in 2018, I was a broke kid. I wanted to play a new game on Steam, but I didn't have any money to drop on any of the popular ones. So, what did I do? Well, I went to the free section and found a game. A couple of years later, and I can without a doubt say it is the most underrated game I've ever played. So hello everyone, my name is Shmenty, and this is my tribute to Endless Sky. Now, I'm sure we've all been on the free page of Steam at one point or another, and we've all seen the popular games like Unturned or Dota 2, but something inside me at that time told me to browse a couple of games deeper, a couple of pages even. And when I finally got 5 or 6 pages in, there was a game that jumped out at me. It was called Endless Sky. At first, it seemed a lot like Escape Velocity, which is a top-down flight sim from 1996. It was a big part of my childhood growing up, and I loved it. I was into space at the time, so I gave it a try, and now here I am, years later, writing a tribute to it. Endless Sky is a game about exploration and combat, about trading and missions. As you pilot your way across the galaxy, you learn new things about the universe. You learn that space doesn't just stop at the edge of human territory. You learn that not everyone in the universe wants to make an honest living. Some people would love to take your ships over or just plain blow them up. You see, the game really isn't that deep at the end of the day. There's only one main storyline that only took me about 19 hours to complete. No, it's not going to be the most deep game you'll ever play in your life, but if you want to relax and kick back and play a space simulator and not care about anything, well, it's the game for you. You see, it's an open source game, meaning that it can be worked on incredibly easy, with mods and even official expansion coming from members of the community. Like I said before, right now there's only one main story in the game, but this game was never intended to be a game that hooked you for hours upon end. I could see that happening, but for me, I treat it like a vacation from video games, from the complexity of all the complex and competitive games that we know and love. You see, the game starts you out pretty much as dirt poor. You just took out a loan, you've worked as hard as you can to just barely scrape enough money to buy one of 3 ships. You can either buy a shuttle to focus on passenger transportation, a cargo ship to focus on trading, or an interceptor that focuses on, well, killing people. You see, the game allows you to choose whichever path you want. For me, trading is the only way I like to go, because honestly, it's completely broken when you want it to be. I found a couple of really good trading routes and just exploited them until I couldn't anymore. It features dynamic trading, and that's another amazing part that I'll touch on later. The game does not lie to you. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. There's no voice acting, and it's not a very graphically beautiful game. No, most of the reason I love it is because of early 90s and 2000s nostalgia of space sims that I played back then. You see, as you upgrade and customize the hundreds of ships available, you are completely able to do that through a menu. It's very simple UI, and it's not that difficult to learn. Spaceflight and combat are typically pretty easy to learn, and honestly, if you want to, you can just never touch your mouse and keep hyperspace jumping everywhere if you really wanted to. It's a 2D top-down world. It's a simple world, but it's one that actually captivated me. As I flew around from different star and different solar system, I honestly enjoyed it. Each system can have multiple planets on it, but typically only have one. You can land on multiple planets. Each planet has its own art, its own design, and its own description of what it does and what goes on there in terms of human life or alien life. There's a ton of games out there that focus on space that completely miss the mark in one way or another. No Man's Sky at launch was pretty abysmal, and although I enjoy it now, it did underdeliver at launch. Games like Elite Dangerous, I just can't get into because they're so complex. You see, I already have a few incredibly complex competitive games that I love playing, and when I'm looking for a new game, I don't necessarily look for those aspects as one of the core gameplay features. There's a lot you can do in this game, from ship design to storylines. it's pretty jam-packed for a few hours. You see, the ship mods are some of my favorite things to do in this game. You start, like I said, with one of 3 small ships, and you work your way up to fleets of thousands. You work your way from being in debt and paying off a mortgage to owning billions and billions of dollars. Each ship is super customizable. There's different weapons, shield generators, engines, power sources, cargo, passengers, coolants, batteries, etc. Even if you don't want to do that, you can actually go around pretty much disabling other people's ships and then taking them over as your own. It's a super fun way to play, and honestly, being a pirate in space is some of the most relaxing fun I've had in a long time. No, this game is not a AAA title by any means, but instead it's one of these rare breed of games that's honestly dying now in 2021. It's an addictive, but yet very simple game that you just have to keep coming back to. No, I'll go months on end without playing it, much like a lot of games I make tributes to. But in the back of my mind, when it subsides there once and for all, then I'll know that I've truly stopped loving this game. But I doubt that'll ever happen. Even if you are not good at video games, this game is for you. It's got asteroids-like controls for each ship. There's literally ways that you can cheat death, but instead of focusing on those as negatives, I focus those as positives. It's free, it's a tiny download, and it will run on anything. If you at all like watching your wealth go up, you like piloting thousands of ships, or you just like space, I really recommend you search for this on Steam. It's free, it's tiny, and you can always just uninstall it and forget about it if you don't like it. But honestly, I think you might. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this was a rather short one, but I'm just kind of working my way back into YouTube after a pretty crazy school year, and I can't wait to keep creating content for you. With that out of the way, thank you so much again. This has been Shmenty, and I'll see you in the next one.